Hey friends, welcome back. I am Jason, just returned from North Carolina, a small town, not really even a town, I guess, Pensacola, North Carolina. And this place was hit really hard by the hurricane's destruction. It just bucketed down feet of rain in a very short period of time and just annihilated this place. The flash flooding was insane. One person told us the story of how the floodwaters rose so rapidly. He said there would be waves of water that come in, and with every wave of water that came in, the water rose 3 feet. So a wave of water, 3 feet. A wave of water, 3 feet. And it happened really, really rapidly, really, really fast. And people just, you can't react to something like that other than just saving your life. I mean, just getting to high ground as fast as possible. One story, a man saved his life by clinging to a trailer. We spent half a day yesterday retrieving a trailer that was up on top of a rock pile, up on top of a bunch of trees and roots and stuff, and it was just jammed up there. One wheel was just kind of hanging in the air. We spent half a day getting that thing out of there, and it was in this big, huge rock garden, big rubble pile of dirt and just rocks and mud. And what used to be people's lawns, most likely, and there probably was houses there. It's hard, I mean, there's no way of even telling. But we spent half a day getting that out of there, and apparently a man that got washed out of his house clung to this trailer and saved his own life by clinging on to this floating trailer, which is pretty crazy. Pretty crazy story of survival right there. What I specifically wanted to talk about was all the kind of what I would only could describe as divine intervention in these places that we've been. So many stories. We're sitting around the campfire after working the days up there helping out, and you just hear story after story after story of divine intervention. Like, for example, one guy said he had a very specific job that he needed a rigging team. He needed a rigging guy to do this very specific job. And he thought to himself, where the heck am I going to find this in, rural North Carolina in this disaster zone? And like immediately he finds a guy wearing a rigging hat. And that's what he does for a living. And he's from, I'm going to make up the state. He's from Oregon or someplace far, far away. And he finds the guy that's specifically there to do the specific job that he needs right there when he needs it. And there's so many situations like that. They needed a whole bunch of dehumidifiers to dry out this house. And they said, where the heck are we going to get dehumidifiers? We're going to have to drive like halfway across the country to get all these dehumidifiers. And like 15 of them showed up right then and there. So many stories like that of just people getting exactly what they need when they need it. And it's pretty incredible. And I don't understand why God allows some things like this to happen. I don't know why a big flash flood like that would be allowed to come in and just wreak havoc and destroy so much. So many people just in that small town of Pensacola. I think there was 14 deaths in Pensacola, which I'm surprised there weren't more, because of just how much rubble and how much destruction there was. Like I said, there were homes in these river banks that were just gone, just completely gone. And if people were in those homes and they didn't get out, that the chances of survival was very, very slim. The force of the water was just incredible. So I don't know why things like this happen, but I can see the amazing things that happen as a result of it. I can see the amount of people that come together to aid in the recovery of these places. It is pretty incredible. And I see the miracles that happen after the fact. So I don't understand the big picture. I don't understand God's greater plan and why and how and all of that. All I can do is look at the people that come together and work together to make amazing things happen. I mean, we built a 50-foot walking bridge in 5 hours with a handful of people and very limited supplies, because the right guy at the right time at the right place showed up. There happened to be a pallet of 2x4s delivered to where we were working. And there was a professional arborist, tree guy, that showed up right there, and I met him, and he was a cool guy and wanted to hang out and get to work, and his name was Eric. And he had all the skills and all the equipment necessary to drop these trees across this river to make a walking bridge so a woman could not wade through this fast-flowing, slippery creek. She has a walking bridge now to get to where she needs to go. And all these things just come together. I enjoy being up there. I've talked about this in previous videos, how I almost feel guilty sometimes for enjoying these things. Like, I like being in these disaster areas, and I like the adventure of it, and I like the challenge, and I like the problem solving. I really enjoy the problem solving side of these type of challenges. And I think that God gives us all gifts and abilities, and we're all different. We can't all be experts at everything. And God gives us these different abilities and skills and equips us with the tools that we need to do these jobs. And it's the accumulation of all these things that makes the magic happen, makes the miracles happen. And I've seen it just time and time again, and just listening to people's stories of how, one really crazy story, I mean, I wasn't there, but this is a cool story. I'm going to share it anyway. One amazing story, a guy was out there working solo, and he was doing some just search and rescue type work, and he was camping out by, I guess, by some of the devastated areas. He was just camped out by himself. I guess he was getting his fire going, you know, picture that. He's got his camp set up, getting a little campfire going, getting his meal ready for the evening, and a guy just shows up in the woods behind his camp, says, "Hey, you know what's going on?" And they start talking, and apparently the guy's a local, and he knows the area really well, and he offers to lend assistance as far as showing the guy around, like where the roads are, because a lot of these roads are not on maps. I mean, it's surprising to hear, but around here, I mean, there's a lot of roads, old fire roads and stuff that are still in use that aren't really on maps. So having local knowledge of an area is really, really helpful when you're doing things like search and rescue. So this guy spends a couple days, I guess, showing him around, showing him the back roads, and leading him to communities that are cut off and isolated. And as a result of this guide, he was able to save a whole bunch of people that were isolated, get them supplies that they needed. And then they part ways, and now this search and rescue guy is in the the hub of other search and rescue people where the supplies are getting dropped off, this depot area, probably at a fire station or something like that, if I had to guess. And he's asking around, and like, yeah, I met this guy, Bob, we'll call him Bob. Bob, he's a local, he's lived here for his whole life, and all of the locals in this really small community don't know him. So all of the locals that live in this small community that know everyone do not know this Bob character that showed him every back road in the area and helped rescue a bunch of people. And it's stories like that. Like, where did this guy come from? Just out of nowhere. And he just happened to have all the knowledge and abilities. I mean, was he an angel sent from above? We don't know. Is it a really cool story? Absolutely, yes. And it's stories like that motivate me, inspired me to keep going back. And this was like our 4th or 5th trip up there. I don't even know anymore, but we'll probably end up going back in the near future. And just to lend hand, here's an update of what's going on up there. It's still complete destruction. It's still chaos as far as if you look at it. Looking at it, it still looks like absolute destruction and chaos in some of these valleys, in some of these river valleys. But things are happening. The emergencies are pretty much all over. The supplies are there. I mean, you can believe the amount of generators and buddy heaters. You catch word that buddy heaters are required in an area, and then suddenly the entire country joins together and sends every buddy heater in the nation. I made a pyramid out of buddy heaters. It was a wall that was like 8 feet high, and I'm gonna say 30 feet long of Mr. Buddy Heaters. But so anyway, they're stocked up on supplies. They don't need clothing and stuff like that. From what I can tell, what they needed was just labor, manual labor. They needed heavy earth moving machinery and equipment to rebuild roads and driveways. They needed gravel deliveries. They needed dump trucks. They needed infrastructure rebuilt. They need homes rebuilt. They need construction crews. They needed that kind of stuff. So if you're that type of person that has that kind of equipment and has those type of skills and access to these types of things, lumber and all that, you could probably be of quite a bit of help. The chainsaw crews and stuff like that is not quite as necessary anymore. The roads are cleared for the most part and sort of semi-rebuilt for the most part, and even in the hardest hit areas, there's accessibility to almost all these areas now, rough as it may be and precarious in some situations. And still there's some unsettled, unsteady earth. Because of all this rain that came in, it saturated the soil. The entire mountainsides just slipped away, literally. Entire mountainsides just kind of ripped down off the side of the hills, and we're left with just nothing but barren rock now. And that's not completely gone. Like a week or two ago, whenever it was, we were up there, we drove down a road, and then when we drove back, there was a landslide across the road that we just went across. We just missed it. because that earth is still unstable. There's big fissures, big cracks in the earth in some places where it kind of slipped away and kind of stopped, but that doesn't mean that it's done moving. And a lot of these riverbanks, like the outside bend of these rivers that we saw yesterday, were these sheer cliffs now with very loose sediment and trees that are just barely hanging onto the edge. That's not done moving. Stuff is going to continue to change and move, and there's going to be some more cleanup because of that. But yeah, people's houses that were flooded, there's mud that thick in the floor of their homes. Sometimes some of this can be saved and some of this can be cleaned up. Houses have been pushed off their foundations, sometimes to a great degree, sometimes just a little bit, but enough to make it very unsafe and possibly not repairable. So these are the things that I've saw when I was in North Carolina. I can't speak for all the places everywhere up there, but the places that I've been are pretty squared away as far as supplies go. That could change. They might need specific things. That's kind of what I'm seeing now. They don't need bottled water, and there's still mountains of bottled water everywhere. And power is up and running now in just about all the places that I've been, even places that look absolutely terrible. You look at them, you're like, ugh, this is gonna take forever to fix. And that's true in a lot of ways, but electricity's back in almost all the homes that we've seen so far. Life is getting back. People are starting to rebuild their lives. People are going back to work, that kind of stuff. Still destruction and lots of cleanup that's going to take a long, long time. This place is never going to look the same, and it's going to take a long time for it to look normal again, to look natural again. So, but yeah, they're pretty squared away with supplies, help, specialized help, construction crews, that kind of stuff is going to be really beneficial moving forward. So we've been working with some really talented individuals in a lot of areas, and if you want to help, I will do my part to kind of connect you with some of these people. If you have very specific skills and specific knowledge or tools, if you have a dump truck, if you got an excavator, you got a backhoe or a skid steer or something like that, and you want to put it to work, I'll do my best to kind of put you in the right direction. Depending on how many views this video gets, it depends on how many messages I get, and it gets overwhelming sometimes. So I'll do my best, no promises. But if you want to message me on Instagram, that's the easiest. Don't email me because that just gets flooded with all kinds of other stuff. So Instagram messaging is probably the easiest, and that is Jason Lee Survival. Jason Lee Survival. And that would be the easiest way. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I really do appreciate it. The thumbs up, the sharing, the subscribing is all really helpful. The sharing is super helpful, actually, as far as promoting these videos and getting these updates out there so people know what's going on in the area. So please do that. And until next time, what's the worst that could happen? Well, your entire life could be washed away by Hurricane Helene. That's probably the worst that can happen for most people. Until next time, guys, thanks. See ya.